Hello, this is Åge Sten Nilsen from Wig Wam. You're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast. And it rocks.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast. The Brutally Delicious podcast.
So how are you doing, man?
From Norway.
You doing okay?
I'm fine. Where are you seated right now?
I am in Richmond, Virginia, in the U.S.
Okay. What's the weather like down there?
Well, I don't know Celsius at all because we're never taught that, but here it's about 55 Fahrenheit.
How many Celsius is that? That's pretty cold for you.
Yeah, it's cold, but it's comfortable. Last night it was in the 30s, so below freezing here.
Okay.
Are you guys in 24-hour darkness right now?
Not really. The sun is starting to get back. I don't live that far north, but up in Finnmark and Tromsø and further up north, they live in total darkness.
Yeah, I could never.
But then again, during summertime, the sun never goes down, so they will have a.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could do that. I could be on the beach at midnight or something, and that'd be kind of cool.
It's crazy when you play up there. During summertime. I remember back in the days we played this dark clubs, and we got out. It was sunlight, and it never got to. Very hard to sleep when you're not used to it. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I guess it's flippant. Anyway, let's not talk about the weather. We could talk about Wig Wam if you want.
Yeah.
So
you guys talk about the weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, only the weather.
It's over.
So now that Out of the Dark is done and it's released, what, in like 2 days or a couple days?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? And are you satisfied with the outcome?
Oh yeah, definitely. Of course, there are always something that you would like to change because you're so close into it, But now when it's gone a while, since the mix was ready, and now I've started to forget about those things that I that I wasn't totally satisfied with. It's always like that, It's bits and pieces like, oh, should have done this and should have done that, and yeah, should have gone that way, but it's better to get it done and to get it released. I mean, some bands can use 5 years on an album because they're getting second thoughts 5,000 times, and at the end of the day, you might go back to the first version and find out that was the best. Same with vocal parts. When I go into the studio, mostly I just try to do it on the first take and do the whole song, and then after I've done that, I do bits and pieces, like one verse at a time, and very often the first take is the best because then you have the adrenaline and you're so much into it,
Right.
So,
but I imagine after a while it's probably hard to figure out like when to let it go, right?
Yeah, that's something you need to discover. I've been working with different artists. One singer I worked with, Jorn, when we did his song for the Eurovision Song Contest, he was never satisfied, and he could use like 2 days for a song, and it drove him nuts, to sit around and that word, now this word is a little
Right.
probably no, that word, okay, good, and 1 hour later, no, probably that word was better, and it's all in the singer's mind because a normal ear won't hear that, So
Right.
if it's an S or an S,
I get it for sure. You guys have been at this for a couple decades now. Did you ever imagine you'd still be doing it?
I would imagine that we would be doing music, but I would never have thought that we would still be doing Wig Wam now, because when we broke up, and I got into my car and drove away from the venue, I never thought that we would ever play together again. So I remember having all my, the Wig Wam gear and all that shit. I remember when I moved like 2 years ago up here in Trondheim. I remember I found all this old stuff, and I thought I'd thrown it away, but because I never thought that would be used again. So, right. But luckily I didn't throw it away. So, but we're good, and we're at a good place, in a good place in our lives right now, and we enjoy the band much more these days than ever before. Yeah.
So I'm going to say something here, and hopefully you'll agree, but I think your kind of sound, your music, like that sort of 80s-ish, glamish, more modern sound, is very needed because, like, it evokes a good time and fun in the times we're living in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Because, the timing couldn't be more perfect. I mean, right. Look at the world around you. I mean, with everything going on in the U.S., with who knows, maybe there will be a civil war soon between the blue and the reds, and the war in Ukraine and everything that's going on in the world. So, and after the COVID, and what the world needs now is more entertainment. And
yes,
I mean, we need to free our minds. I mean, I experienced that myself. I'm so, I'm too much focused when I don't do, writing and doing my shows. When I'm back home, I tend to check out CNN, what's going on, and it's all, I mean,
and then it gets
all
in your
the
head.
negativity, just like the Santos story with the guy who's lying,
right, and then it gets in your head and it fucks you up.
China, and Ukraine. I mean, it's a crazy world. So yeah, we need something to disconnect us from this crazy world once in a while.
Yeah, so I mean, in the words of the immortal prophet Bret Michaels, I think nothing but a good time, and I think Wig Wam sums that up quite a bit, especially for the times we live in, especially like the new single "Out of the Dark." It's totally that.
Yeah. Even though it's a kind of black themed song, I mean, speaking of domestic violence and stuff like that, but but we're even then talking about getting out of it, and look at the brighter sides. I mean, you can have a hard time, but everything will work out. Just make sure you escape.
Yes, and I think that's what your music and that's what music does more than anything else, is it provides that escape that is so definitely needed.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
And now we're coming down to the US. Finally coming down to do the first tour. Our first tour in the US. That's going to be so neat. I mean, we are so much looking forward to it. And we were supposed to be down there in January, but because of the working visa stuff, the lines are crazy, so but finally
you guys have never been here?
Never. I've only done one gig in the US. That was with my former band Ammunition. I mean, we never broke up, but I obviously don't have time for Ammunition these days. And Eric Mortensen is pretty busy with his Eclipse band. So, but we did a gig just outside Chicago, and that was the first time ever I did a gig in the US.
Are you concerned, nervous, or worried about getting back out there after being off for so long?
No. I mean, as a singer and a performer, I do concerts all the time, with my solo band up here and with my Queen shows, and so when we did the first Wig Wam shows after the comeback and straight on, kind of in the middle of the pandemic, because it was it was shows with limited attendance,
right?
And we were sponsored by something called the Norwegian Cultural Fund, something. We could only have 100 persons inside, and
wow.
Yeah, very little. But big places, but we were paid like it was kind of a full capacity, so that was good, and it meant that we had at least some shows
Right.
to get back together and get the feel of being this band again. There's a kind of a small difference between now and then, because then we were kind of doing the characters, kind of, it was like going out. We were Wig Wam, and especially in the beginning, I didn't have a big career when we did Wig Wam, so it was easy to become that glam character. But
Right.
After we broke up, I have pursued my own career, and people now, especially in Norway, know me more as Åge Sten Nilsen, and they have a deeper connection with me as a solo artist these days than glam. So for me, when we got back together again, I was very focused on not taking it, back to those days again, because I needed to be Åge Sten Nilsen, aka glam or whatever. He used to be glam, and now I'm just being myself. But anyway, when you put on the gear and you put on the platforms and you go out and do this music, you just have to attack it like it's like my second skin anyway, and for all of us,
So you mentioned smaller gigs like 100 people. Is it odd or weird playing to 100 people as opposed to, I don't know, 10,000 people, or do you approach it differently, or is a show a show?
Now, after a while, you of course, the feeling is much better when you have 10,000 people standing in front of you and cheering you on, of course. But at the same time, you can't let yourself be, affected by it. Like, a lot of artists in Norway do these corporation gigs, and they really hate it because, there will be companies and all the people there, they haven't paid to see you. I mean, there's a party, they don't know who's going on, and so you won't have your fans there. And so a lot of bands or artists are kind of not offended by it, but they think they don't like it because it's not my audience. Right. I love it because I'm gonna make them my audience,
Right.
So yeah. So every time I go on stage, and if they're like, I don't know if they are there to listen to me or to appreciate what I'm doing. I just have to try hard. I just have to make believe. And in my mind, I'll see 50,000 people actually, and they're all jumping up and down. I don't care if they sit down. I mean, it's all in my head. And as soon as a performer starts to take notice of people sitting down or not being into it, they won't, because you need to be in your own kind of world, and inviting them in instead of the opposite.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but I guess that makes total sense for sure.
Yeah.
So in doing research for this interview, I found Do You Want to Taste It was chosen for, I didn't know this, for the HBO's Peacemaker show.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and what has that done? That probably put Wig Wam back on the map, right?
Actually, that's pretty much why we're talking right now, and that's the reason why we're coming down to the US in the first place. Because let's face it, in the US, a lot of people never had heard about Wig Wam before until they saw the Peacemaker series and heard our song, and they started to check out the band. And luckily, we had a lot of albums, and we had just released a new album, Never Say Die, and we were about to release a new. So it was in the middle of something good. If this had been, in 2014, after the band had broken up, there wouldn't be a Wig Wam. And, so we were lucky with the timing, kind of. Now they sent us a mail. We just received a mail from some kind of a sync company. They really wanted to check out a couple of songs. They didn't tell us much about it. That it was going to be some television stuff, and they wanted us to check to send them the songs and the stems, the layers of music, so they could toy around with it to check if it worked out.
Right.
So we thought actually would be a commercial or something. I thought, maybe it's a McDonald's commercial. Do you really want to? Do you really want to?
Oh, you had no idea.
Yeah, big bites.
Right.
Had no idea. And then after they had checked it out, they told us that what it was all about, and we checked out the names, and of course we recognized James Gunn, and and what Peacemaker was all about, and we really got into it, and we were really looking forward to seeing it on on the HBO or Max, but we never knew what kind of impact it would have. It could have been a total disaster, but when we saw the result, we didn't see shit until it premiered. So we never knew what to make of it.
Interesting. So I had thought that maybe it was written for the show, but it was actually not. They just selected something from your catalog.
No, I know that James Gunn, he's kind of a Wig Wam fan, and that he had Do You Want to Taste It in the back of his mind. So I think he was kind of mentally listening to that song when he really made that opening sequence. Anyway, even before they asked us, like that was kind of the thing that he wanted.
Right.
And it's it's pretty funny. I mean, that song was released in 2010, and it was kind of a hit here in Norway. It was number one on the charts, the average charts, sales charts here in Norway for like a couple of weeks. It was in the charts for 6 weeks, I think. Back then, I was doing the Clash of the Choirs. We have that TV program in the US. Celebrities bringing, having a choir from their own town, picking members from their old town where they were raised, and they will compete against other singers and celebrities.
Oh, wow. Right.
So it's actually the choir that's going to compete. The celebrities and the singers are more, the masters of the choir,
Gotcha.
And
I don't think we have that here.
Oh, it was a big deal here in Norway, and so I made sure we had that song. The premiere of that song was broadcasted live on television.
Really?
Yep. And my choir, I had made a kind of a dance routine for the band, for the choir. So they more or less did some of the things,
choreography, right?
So this was back in 2010. So it's so funny, to see. Of course, it's very different, but at the same time, we have this choreography thing going. So it's fun to see now.
Sweet. So what is the writing process like for Wig Wam? Are you guys able to get in the same room and jam together, or is it more sending stuff back and forth?
Oh, it's every way, actually. So sometimes we will sit down, especially Tron and I sit down and write songs from scratch, or one of us will bring in some elements. For example, on Out of the Dark, we were starting to write that song together, but then suddenly he just showed me a great intro riff, and we started to go from there, and wrote it together, even the lyric. Other songs like Forevermore, he wrote back home all by himself. Just listen to the demo, wow, cool. Right. Then with my High and Dry, written it all by myself back home, sent them the demo. But for Bad Luck Chuck, that started off like a jam session.
Mm-hmm.
We were just actually rehearsing for our first dates after the Never Say Die tour, before the Never Say Die tour, and we something happened, and we thought it was a great tune. It became a tune. We didn't know that we were writing it. So I took it home, and after a while, just found a cool melody for it, and a lyric. It all just came naturally, and whoops, we had a song.
Nice. So
every possible way, So
that's great. I mean, I think it's with technology, it's easy to take advantage of that sort of stuff too. But it's nice that you finally get together at some point in the old.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the power of being together and writing songs. You know, sometimes it's cool to sit to actually to be in the rehearsal room and to
yes.
kind of test it out live. But, you know, it's sometimes even faster when you sit around, have a couple of beers with your mate, and you have guitars, you have bass, and you have a drummer who actually shuts up because he's he's a machine right there and then. So it's easier for you to get what you're looking for, kind of, you know, and then you will bring it into the band and you will rehearse it and you'll see if it, you know, clicks, and then you record it, you know.
Okay. So getting back to Out of the Dark for a second, a song, I know you mentioned it's got, you know, some serious themes in it. Do you ever, or have fans reached out to you and connected with that song, and what does that feel like?
Yeah, not in the sense that people have experienced being in a domestic violent relationship. I haven't heard anyone come to us to tell us about that, but you know, we've got a good reception on the song. You know, some other songs, when people hear them, you know, they will talk to them directly, and you know, they will connect with whatever they feel, and
Right.
you know. So
That's got to be like the ultimate payoff, right? The something that you wrote in your studio there in Norway connects with somebody in their living room
of course,
in India or something, right?
of course, that's like, of course, and even if it's a fun song, I mean, if it makes people laugh and have a good time, you know, so
Or get
same
through the
thing.
day or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it's good. I mean, you just to think about, like you said, that, you know, when you sat down and you just wrote a cool song, whatever, and suddenly it has taken on a new life, so to say. Think about, do you want to taste it? I mean, when we wrote that song, I remember Tron had, you know, the opening riff, and do you really want to taste it? That was pretty much what he had, and the rest of it was kind of a more bluesy song, and it was a real cool song. But I never kind of thought it was, this is not a Wig Wam song, you know, and you know, I never dug it. So I asked him if I could come up with, because I had some ideas. Yeah, please go ahead.
Right.
And coming up with a got it on, you know, all that shit, you know.
Right.
And back then, I think they thought it was too much. It was like, but
Too
I really
over the top?
for it because it's too much happening, you know, with all
Right.
the choir and stuff, you know. But and the lyric and everything, but you know, it's so fun to look back now. I mean, had I not done that, that song would have been totally different, and who knows, it might have been in a different series years ago, but
Right.
probably not the HBO one. Maybe it would have been a hit back then, even bigger one. You never know. But you know, it's so strange to look back, and you know, especially now, so much later, when people ask me what the song is about, and you know, things that, you know, I have a problem to remember exactly what I thought about, you know,
Right.
Of course I know, but you know, it's like I can tell you now with this album, the lyrics are so close now, you know, the feelings that you had half a year ago, but now we're talking like 12 years ago, you know.
Right. So what's next for Wig Wam? I know you said you've got a States tour. Is that that's coming up shortly?
Yeah, first we're doing is we're gonna have a club tour here in Norway, the first one in like 10 years. No, actually 12 years. Oh, 10 something.
Right.
And so that's going to be fun.
Exciting.
And after that, we're going to the US. I think we're probably leaving here like the 12th of April, I think. And we're going to play as much as we can. And we will end the tour on that leg of the tour on the Masters of Rock cruise.
Oh, nice.
And we will get back to Norway, do some other gigs, and then we'll do Sweden Rock Festival. And right now we're trying to reschedule the Australian tour that we had to postpone because Tron had COVID, so we had to postpone everything. So
Right.
it means, January and February was supposed to be very super hectic. But I mean, because of the working visa problems and the COVID, been sitting down here up here in Norway.
But it looks like it's getting busy for you, though, right?
Yeah. And on top of that, I'm doing one of the main characters in the musical We Will Rock You in Oslo Spectrum. So, and we are gonna start the rehearsals when we are on tour. So I'll be.
Oh, really?
I'll be kind of, going back and forth from rehearsals with the ensemble there and on tour with Wig Wam. So it's gonna be a hectic time. So I'm thinking about that when I'm, kind of getting restless, like,
Right.
okay, there's just a couple of more weeks and then I won't be restless anymore. Use this time to kind of see your folks and have a good time.
Oh, yeah. And I imagine after being down for so long with all this world chaos crap, that it's pretty exciting to be that busy again, right?
Yeah, but I kept myself pretty busy during the COVID as well. As soon as of course, everything was locked down, and we couldn't play at all. But then suddenly here in Norway, we were allowed to play in front of 20 people.
Right.
And I was so fed up sitting here watching Netflix and, not doing anything because you couldn't go. All the clubs were closed. All the bars were closed. Right. Nothing to do except for inviting some friends back home. And you get kind of,
right,
restless and fed up. So I called my booker here and said, book. In book, I mean, there was only allowed to have 20 people. Who cares? I need a bed somewhere. I bring my wife, and we go out there and do some acoustic shows, whatever. And they pay on the door. Doesn't matter. And I think that was probably one of the best things to do because we met people, we saw things, and we as a couple we connected, and we started to write music together, which resulted in us doing more and more things together, So right now when I'm doing my solo shows, she's my special guest in the middle of the set, and that's cool.
What does she play? Or is she singing, or is she playing?
She's a singer.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
She's more into the country rock stuff, So
nice.
We're writing songs together, and it's perfect.
That's great.
And that wouldn't have happened without the COVID, because I had a huge hit here with a Norwegian version of "Shallow." I did with a Norwegian singer, and it was a massive hit. And I had to do that song every time when I went out to do acoustics. I also, can't you come along and do that song? And of course, then we started to do more songs together.
When you say "Shallow," that was the Lady Gaga song?
Yeah, we did a Norwegian version of it. So it became a massive hit here in Norway.
Good for you. I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, you need to have something to do. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's going to bring me to the end of my my questions. Did I miss anything you wanted to cover?
No, I think we covered almost everything, except for will there be another album? We don't know.
To be seen, to be determined.
Now we actually wrote a lot of songs for this album, but and some of the most commercial songs we saved for a rainy day. So, but they will probably be heard sometime later.
Nice. And that's all.
Maybe in some series or something.
Oh, nice. So before we go, then
on HBO Max, probably.
HBO, the next series. Right?
Just kidding. I don't know.
Who knows? But it could be. Before we go, though, can I get you?
They're actually listening to them right now.
Nice.
They check them out.
Are they really?
Yeah.
We
are actually in we're communicating with the people on from a guy named James Gunn's production company. So
good for you.
We're sending a lot of songs right now. So
well, best of luck. Hopefully it takes off. Yeah, you know it. Before we go, can I get you to do a bumper?
One of our shows when we come over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to catch you. Thank you, my friend. Sorry about earlier. I don't know what happened, but we got it done and it's all good.
Maybe my bad, you know, is like I said,
I don't know.
start saying smoke signals much easier.
You got it. Well, I apologize.
Especially for us
Make it work.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, you know it. Be well. Good luck with the tour, and hopefully I'll get to see you here.
Keep rocking in the free world. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah.